Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. It is a spin-off of the website and book review site of Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast is about book reviews, a writer's muse, a book's peruse, author interviews, and literary news. Welcome to the new year, where new things may happen with this. I hope you all enjoy, and thank you for listening. Hey everybody, this is Amy Shannon from Amy's Bookshelf Reviews, and I am so glad to be here with you and continuing on the podcast. I talked about this a little bit in the previous episode where I talked about Flashback Fridays, and this one it's kind of like, I don't want to say controversial, but there's a lot of things that go along with new technology and things like that. When you're an author, you should, if you're doing your book for the first time, I recommend, and this is something I had to learn myself over the years, after you get your ISBN, your International Standard Book Number, it'll be 13 digits, but you also given a 10-digit one sometimes. Also, when you get the ISBN number, that is your book number. That is not your Library of Congress number. The Library of Congress number, you can go to their website and you can enter your ISBN, all the information about your book, and also if you have that, you can you put that in, and once you get the number, it allows you to have your book, once it's published, in the library system. If you do not have a Library of Congress number, you cannot have your book put in libraries. Even if you donate your book to, you could have it as a display or something, but you want your book to be in libraries. So if you do a search for the what is it called? It's the pre-pub book link for the Library of Congress. You can create an account. And if you are also an author, but you're also helping other authors publish their work, because I do know of a lot of authors, including myself, that will help other authors publish their work. And once you have that ISBN number, a tentative release date, a synopsis for your book, book description, then you can get that process started. And usually you get a pretty quick turnaround. It'll tell you, you'll get an email back stating that it's been there, and then next thing you know, you'll get an email stating what your number is. If you don't, like I said, if you don't have that number, libraries cannot order your book because you will not be in their system. The Library of Congress, obviously, is the largest library in the United States. And when I'm saying the Library of Congress, I only am aware of it as for authors in the United States. I do not know if there are similar regulations for if they do a book for books globally, or if each country has their own type of thing. So I do not know that. But there's another, that's something that, maybe I can delve more into at another time to see if it covers out-of-country books as well. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is your content. technology is wonderful. Some of us, I used to just type my stories out on the computer, but I actually went back to doing handwriting notes and stuff, because it was sometimes easier just for me to write it all out and then try to read my writing when I put it back in the computer. I have seen a lot of things going around about artificial intelligence, or we know as AI. Microsoft has their Copilot. There are also other AIs with, of course, Apple or Google, or even Adobe, in like using Photoshop or using Acrobat. So I wanted to kind of dive into that as well. When they started talking about AI, at first they were talking about, oh, we can use AI and we can pretend we are a famous celebrity author and write a book only using AI, or rewrite a book that has already been published by another author and pretend to be that particular author. Obviously, and I hope it's obvious, that is unethical. I think it's very important. If you're going to write a book, you should be the one to write your book. Or if you use a ghostwriter, don't use AI as a ghostwriter. I've seen software when I was looking for AI to do something else for me, to help me with more with helping creating short videos and things like that. I found an app that you can say, oh, this is what I want my story to be about, and then AI will write it, and then you go, there you go. Well, what's the fun in that? And number two, you're not the one that wrote the story, you just came up with the idea. You know how many people come up with ideas on how to on what to write a book, but they actually do the work to do it? Using AI is not a writing shortcut. It's to me, it's cheating. That's my opinion. So if you disagree with me, fine, put it in a comment. I could discuss this further. I could discuss this in my next episode of Sit Down with Amy Shannon, which is my live stream on YouTube on the first Saturday of every month on YouTube at 6 p.m. on my YouTube channel. And of course, as this podcast is on Spotify, it also does the audio streams on YouTube as well. But, there are things that AI can and can't do. Some of the programs, they have, I'm picturing something in my head and I can't figure out. I use some of it for graphic designs, or just an idea so that I can create something. When you have something in your head, but it's hard to, and I'm talking about like a graphic design. You have something in your head, but you're trying to figure out how to put that wherever you want, like in your design. So you plug in these keywords and then it pops something out. Now, sometimes I think it's pretty funny, because of what I put in and what is a response is like nothing I pictured. And then other times it's just gorgeous. If I find an AI created image that I created, I always update it or only use a little bit of it, because there's some things that I still can't draw on paper. But I'm really liking going into designing advertisements and book promotions, and I'm learning a lot about being able to do that. And there are also restrictions with that, certain ones. I don't know all of them. Some have have restrictions about certain things. Like I tried to type in, I asked Copilot if she could actually, she could actually, I described a woman and I wanted the woman holding a gun because I was looking for to update my, a book cover of mine or doing an advertisement for it. And she could not do that because of the asking of the word for the word gun. And there's also Adobe, either Photoshop, you can generate certain things. I haven't tried having them use like weapons or use those as keywords, but I have sometimes when I am reading a book, I might want to get an overview of what the story's about after I read it, or if I forgot characters. I do use AI sometimes in Acrobat Reader, but after I've read it or listened to it on my computer. I like using PDF files for my reviews so I can have my computer read them to me, because sometimes my eyes get tired. And then sometimes I use it just to, okay, tell me which characters were in here. Sometimes it's hard to keep track even though I take notes. So you can use these for a lot of ethical things, and I don't use them to write a review. That would be wrong because, I have to read the book and give my opinion, not have the AI give an opinion of the book. So anyways, when I do that, sorry, I had to pause to let my cat out of my room. But, there's good ways to use technology, and there's ways that, sure, you can make $1 million by having your AI write best-selling novel ever. To each their own, but I think you're cheating your readers, because a reader could say, I want to read a book about John who likes to collect cats. And the AI could write a story about this man named John who likes to collect cats. I don't know where that came from, probably just because my cat was bugging me. But, technology can be good and it can be not so good. And even now, or even if you go back to 20 years before there was Google, when Amazon was, in the process where Amazon was starting out, it started out as a bookstore, online bookstore. And then obviously it grew from there and keeps growing. Google, same thing. Microsoft, the different technologies, Apple products, and I think that a lot of the technology it's pretty amazing on where it has come, but I think also in some ways it can make people lazy or want to take shortcuts when doing something that can be so important. If you are writing a book and you're an author and you've put in years of writing a story or several stories that belong to several characters, and then have somebody just do the similar thing, but within 2 days they have a full book because the AI wrote it. That's just, I don't know. I personally feel that is wrong. To me, it's like, yeah, you're cheating. You're copying someone else's work, and calling it your own. Even though it's an AI writing it, you are still taking their work and pretending that it is your own just because it's your idea. A lot of people can have the same idea. If you watch movies that come from a certain era, they have there's sometimes a lot of movies that they share the similar kind of theme or something similar within the same year or two, because that's the trend of the movies. Like you might get one where there's several natural disaster movies all coming out at the same time, and some of them are really good and some of them are B-list movies. And I must say, just as a side note, I like some of the B-list movies that nobody else knows about, because I do searches and I dig deep down because I want to see what makes that the B movie and why it didn't do so well. And sometimes I enjoy it and sometimes I can't watch the first thing. It's like, oh, I've already seen this. And that's how things are. You can have an idea and someone else can have an idea. Or a lot of people take ideas from what's happening in real life and then they make it into their story. If you take someone else's work and you're not citing it, you're calling it your own, that's plagiarism. Obviously, you should not steal someone else's work. It's unethical. If you are doing research and you want to include someone else's work, then you, even in a fiction book, you quote it and then you cite it or put a reference at the end of the book for that. I have a few fiction books that I did research and I wanted to do some quotes or got some information from, so I did have references at the end of my book. Just because it's fiction doesn't mean it doesn't have to be real. So that goes with that. It's like people think that piracy, making copies of movies that cost money. When you are plagiarizing an author's work or stealing their work and sending it out for free without the author's permission, and I'm saying without permission, and I have found a few of my books because I did beta readers and they decided to put my book for free on a site, and it took me forever to get it off because I wanted to publish the book on Amazon or something, and Amazon caught that it was on another site, so they actually were able to handle that for me. You're taking money out of my pocket by doing that or doing that to any author. I have also, and I don't make a lot of money because I don't promote my work as much as I promote others. And sometimes I do stop and take a break and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to promote my work, and I look for different ways that I can do that is inexpensive. But hard work is hard work. When you write, it's coming from your brain, it's coming from your imagination, sometimes it goes right from your brain to your fingertips, so much that you couldn't even tell the story out loud until it's written. So I think that using AI is to write your book is unethical, and basically you are stealing the AI's version of the story that it created, so that where you may not be hurting AI, you're giving yourself a bad reputation because people are going to find out what you do. This is the age of the internet. Once something's out there, it's out there forever. And at least the forever that we know. So, that's something that's important. And I've talked about ethical things of, what I believe is ethical. And I am transparent with what I do and how I write my reviews. Of course, some things are my own trade secrets because I created them, or how I do certain things. And I may be considered old school because I still use Excel spreadsheets, and I use Notepad text because they can't be formatted weirdly when I write my reviews. My reviews are, they come from my brain, and they come from my opinion. And yes, there have been times when I have mistakenly wrote something in a review that had nothing to do with that particular book because I read the wrong notes. And when the author called me out on it, as soon as I could, I fixed it. Or if there was a typo or something just, it was worded weird and they didn't understand it. I'm accountable for what I do, and I've made the change. The only thing I don't do, if somebody says, oh, well, can you give my book 5 stars instead of 4? Well, if I deemed it was supposed to be 5 stars instead of 4, I would have put it there to begin with. So no, I don't do that. But anyway, I know this is kind of going on and on, but also I want you to think about, what do you think about technology? What do you think about AI and the use of it in certain aspects of the publishing and the literary world? I'd like to know your opinion on that. Also, I'd like to know, what else, what do you feel, what are your opinions on what is ethical and unethical as far as an author standpoint? And I bring that up because I've seen authors write their own review. And even though they say, I'm the author, they still write a review for themselves. Well, obviously, it's going to be good 5 stars. If you're writing a commentary about your book, then that should be put in another spot, not in the review section. That's just reviewing your own work, really. You could do that, but posting it, even if you're transparent or not, I don't find that ethical at all. And I just wanted to put that out there. Also, I have seen authors that will make their pen name as close as possible, or even the same thing as a famous writer. I remember one time I was actually looking for, I did a search for Stephen King books because I wanted to see what the latest book was. And if you go to his page, there's a lot of stuff. But then I was looking and I saw, there's Stephen King, the horror master of writing, and which I love reading his work as much as I love reading Whitman and Shakespeare. James Patterson, I do like reading his work. But as I was saying, I was looking for something from Stephen King, and then I found another Stephen King, but all he did was add a middle initial, and his stories were horror. So you could, if you were looking for a real Stephen King novel, you could mistakenly have purchased one that was not from the real Stephen King. And I almost did, but then when I was putting stuff in my wish list, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a difference here. So, trying to go get famous on someone else's coattails, that's not ethical. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I just want authors to be successful in their writing and keep that passion, and always know that, sometimes it's okay to walk away, but it's even better to come back to it. So this has been Amy Shannon, and as I said, if you have any opinion on the subjects that I talked about today, you can leave them in the comments field. I will read them, and maybe we'll talk about them in a future episode. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. If you are looking to be on the podcast or looking for a book review, you can go to amysbookshelfreviews.com and look for the appropriate navigational menu. Again, thank you all for listening and being a supporter of this podcast and of the Amy's Bookshelf Reviews, professional reviewers of books and audiobooks. Thank you all. Be safe and be well.